So Shimon Peres was not a Kabbalist. He was a great politician, statesman, prime minister and president of Israel. So he was also one of the architects of the um, peace process, the attempts at making peace with the Palestinians in Israel, which I guess today we're seeing was not all that successful. But he really believed in it and dedicated the last part of his life to attempting to bring peace. At one stage, he said, I see the light at the end of the tunnel. I just don't see the tunnel. Do you get that?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Right.
See the light. I see the light at the end of the tunnel. There are some people who can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. You're stuck in the tunnel. He can see the light at the end of the tunnel, but where's the tunnel? Like, how do we get there? He had this vision of this beautiful utopian peace, but every attempt failed, and every try and everything you tried and everything you offered, and nothing worked. And so at one stage, he said, "I see the light at the end of the tunnel. I just don't see the tunnel." So that state of being where you see the light at the end of the tunnel, but where's the tunnel to get there? There's this beautiful ideal, but what's the path to reach that ideal? This is one of the great challenges that we have in all of our work on ourselves and our work in the world. We all know what perfection is. We all know what the ideal world is. But how do we get there? We know how we're supposed to be. We know what we're supposed to be doing. If it boils down to it, we really know what we're supposed to be doing. But it's not always easy to do it. The Kabbalists presented us with this beautiful idea of hishtavos, of equanimity, where neither an insult hurts you nor a compliment lifts you up. You know who you are. You are who you are. You're comfortable in yourself. You don't need the approval of others. You don't fall at the disapproval of others. It's not what you're about. You're in the state of balance, of equanimity, where it doesn't bother you. You're above it. It sounds like a beautiful, very elevated and high level. In fact, the Baal Shem Tov told us this is a very high spiritual level to reach. The question is, that's a light at the end of some tunnel. That's some beautiful ideal to try and strive for. How do we get there? What's the tunnel to get to that place? Is this a realistic goal? Is this something that we can get to, or is it just one of these lights at the end of a tunnel, but there's no tunnel there? There's no path. It's all very well to talk about these ideals, but we're human beings. How do human beings even taste a level like that? So tonight we're going to look further at this idea to try and find a bit of a path towards that tunnel. It is a very high ask. It is a very demanding level to reach. But if our sages offer it to us, it means that it's within our grasp. And it might take work, maybe a lifetime of work, but we can get there. So we're going to have a look at a few sources and a few ideas to try and bring it down to us. And the central source that we're going to look at tonight is from Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi, the author of the Tanya, who his whole philosophy was taking those great lights at the end of the tunnel and showing the path how to get there, making it realistic. One of his great mottos that he based his works on was a verse in the Torah that says that it's close to you, it's not far from you. That these paths and these spiritual attainments are available and attainable. They're realistic. You just have to do the work and get the right path to get there. And he tried to help. So we're going to see if he can help us with this one. So the number one, the first quote here is from the Talmud, not a mystical work, but the work of Jewish wisdom from 15 or so hundred years ago, a recording of all the great traditions of the past, where in the Talmud, Tractate Chulin, page 70, it says that a person does not so much as bruise his finger down below unless it is decreed from above. No small little act of inconvenience, of pain, of suffering, of difficulty. Nothing happens down here in this world if it wasn't decreed in the world above, in the heavens. Everything is as it's supposed to be. Everything that happens is as it's meant to happen. Now, that means that you might bruise your finger and that hurts. That's not a pleasant experience to bruise your finger. And the Talmud is specifically giving an example of a relatively trivial inconvenience. You bruised your finger. What happened when you bruise your finger? It hurt. It may preclude you from doing certain things. You can't do your knitting. Typing might be difficult. Scratching yourself. I don't know. There are things that will become difficult when you've got a hurt finger. Some people, maybe it's more serious and will have to go for surgery. There's many layers of bruising a finger. But relatively speaking, we survive bruising a finger. It happens to all of us. Even that is decreed above. That's meant to be. The Talmud does not offer an explanation why it's meant to be. It doesn't say what's the point of me bruising my finger? Why did that happen? The Talmud does not offer an explanation. It just says that it happened with purpose. There is meaning in what has happened. It is a part of God's plan. It was meant to be. Because everything is meant to be. Nothing happens that's not meant to be. The proof that it's meant to be is that it happened. If it weren't meant to happen, then it wouldn't have happened. If it did happen, it was meant to be. And if it's meant to be, it's a part of God's plan. If it's part of God's plan, God is a purposeful being, a loving being, a caring being. And so therefore, it is somehow for our good and the good of the universe, this was supposed to happen. I may not see it, I may never see it. I may never understand it, but it is meant to be. Now, we, human beings, have a knee-jerk reaction to pain and suffering that happens to us. Why is this happening to me? What did I do to deserve it? There's an assumption that's somehow very ingrained in us that we understand that the world is fair, that God is fair. Things are supposed to happen for a reason. And if it's happening to me, it's happening to me for a reason. And so then we make another step in our thinking that, well, it must be I've done something wrong to deserve it. It must be a punishment. Perhaps this is something that we get from our childhood, where when you're naughty, you get punished. There's consequences. We understand that from our childhood. We're taught that. It's reinforced over and over by our parents and our teachers that you do wrong, there's consequences. Sometimes when you do right, there's also consequences that are good. Sometimes that's forgotten. But the negative consequences are certainly remembered. And so it becomes ingrained in us that there must be a reason why this is happening, meaning I must deserve it. And why? Why do I deserve this? What did I do wrong to deserve this? That is our automatic response. The Talmud doesn't say that. It doesn't say that if you bruise your finger down below, it's because up above they're punishing you. Maybe they are, maybe not. That's a possibility. Of course, we do see a concept of divine punishment and that suffering comes as a result of somebody's misbehavior and immoral state that they have to be cleansed. There is such an idea, but that's not necessarily the explanation. It's a possibility. Or it could be something else. We certainly know that innocent people suffer. That is a definite fact, an unquestionable fact. Are they being punished? Well, they're innocent. When a child suffers, a child is innocent. It's not a punishment. It can't be a punishment. It is perhaps a cleansing. It is an elevation for that soul. It is a learning process. It may be a correction for something for that soul for its lifetime or a previous lifetime. There are many possibilities that it could be. Our job is not necessarily to know the reason. It is to know that there is a reason. We can't explain why I bruised my finger, but we know that that is a part of the divine plan. And that changes everything. If I know it's a part of the divine plan, so then my attitude, my understanding of it is completely transformed. It doesn't take away the hurt of my finger when I bruised it, and I know that it's part of the divine plan. My finger still hurts. I may still need to get treatment, and it may hurt for a while. And I don't know why it happened. But the fact that I know that it's a part of the divine plan, it takes away the sting from that pain. That the pain is not meaningless. It's not empty. It's not random. It's not for no purpose. There is something that will come from this. There is some lesson, perhaps, a learning, a wisdom, a strength that I'll get from it. It is correcting something in the supernal worlds, or some explanation that I do not yet have the vocabulary to understand what it could be. I don't know the full story of why the universe works. Not just my finger getting bruised do I not understand, but most of the universe I don't understand why and what. But what I do see is that there's this incredible universe, which is an amazing system, which is designed and purposeful. And by knowing that and having a strong conviction in that, when I hurt my finger, it hurts, but I know that there is a higher purpose. And that takes away the suffering. It doesn't take away the pain. It still hurts, but I don't have to suffer about it. I don't have to become bitter about it, angry about it, sad about it, despondent and give up and what. It's a part of the plan. And so this is what the Talmud is trying to illustrate to us, that no small event happens down in this world that wasn't decreed. It's not that it's all a part of the plan. And this is illustrated by the story in the Torah, number 2, of Joseph and his brothers. It's a long, beautiful story, but to summarize it, it doesn't start off all that beautiful. Joseph was one of the sons of Jacob, our forefather, one of the younger sons, who the other sons didn't like. There was a sibling rivalry between them, and the other brothers did not like Joseph to the point where they wanted to get rid of him. Some even suggested to kill him for whatever reason, which we can't go into it now. None of the brothers said, "Let's not kill him. Let's just let's sell him to slave as a slave." They sold him off to be a slave. He ended up going down to Egypt as a slave. While in Egypt, he was so successful as a slave that he became the master of his master's house and eventually became the viceroy of Egypt, like the prime minister of Egypt. Pharaoh made him like his right-hand man. This is from being a slave, being incarcerated, going to the exact opposite and being the viceroy of Egypt. His brothers came down to Egypt, not recognizing him in the position of prime minister, but eventually he revealed himself to them. And they thought, okay, now comes the pay up. Here's our brother who we sold, and he's now in a position of power. He could do anything he wants to us. We destroyed his life, and now he can destroy our lives. He could kill us in an instant. And so they're terrified when they realize they're standing in front of their brother who they sold, who's now the prime minister of Egypt. And he says to them, "Don't fear. I'm not upset at you. You sold me to Egypt. That was God's plan. God sent me here so I could feed you and our family and the entire world. He, as prime minister, saved the economy of Egypt. And that's why I was sent here. I was sent here to save you, to look after you." And he did not hold an ounce of a grudge against them. Why? They had hurt him terribly. Brothers sold their brother. So how could he not have any grudge against them? Because he said, it wasn't you, it was God. God sold me here. So he sent me here. He wanted me to be here. And that's the words here that he says, that it's not you who sent me, it's God who sent me. Now, that is an awesome level to reach. We're talking about somebody who has every right to be angry and bitter against his own brothers. I mean, families split up for much smaller things than that, being sold into slavery. And here, Joseph not only didn't hold a grudge, he looked after his brothers. He showed love to them. He did not approve of what they did. He did not condone their behavior. He didn't say it was okay. He said, as far as I'm concerned, it was God who sent me, which is a very delicate balance. How do you differentiate between the act that somebody has wronged you and yet I'm not angry at you? It was God who did it. One of two things. If God does it, so then they're not guilty. If they did it, so then God didn't do it. They're guilty. Like, how does it work? If somebody harms me, somebody that wrongs me, insults me, or sells me to slavery. So he said, well, even a little bruise on your finger, it's all determined by God as a part of the divine plan. So whatever I've gone through is part of the divine plan. It was meant to happen. And if it's meant to happen, I can't be angry. God, the loving God who does what's best for us, this is what he gave me. But that person did it to me. And Joseph says, no, 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 God sent me here, not you. So are they not guilty then? Are they innocent? Do they get off scot-free for what they've done? Surely not. And yet Joseph is saying, it's not you, it's God. He had no anger towards them whatsoever. We'll have to understand how does that work? How do you identify that somebody has wronged you and he spent years in jail as a result? He spent years in slavery as a result. He was separated from his parents. All this because of the wrongdoing of his brothers. And he wasn't angry at them. So do they do wrong? Or is it this is God's will? Well, he's saying it's God's will. Look at the next source, number 3, Duties of the Heart. This is the book Choves Alavavos, a great work of moral teachings by Rabbi Bachya Ibn Pakuda from the 11th century in Spain. So he says in his great work, in a section called The Gate of Trust, Shar B'Tachan, an amazing work all about faith and trust in God. He says, one who trusts in God does not become angry with people nor place his hopes in them. He knows that every event that befalls him comes from God and that people are only his messengers. I can't get angry at you and I can't place my hope in you. My hope is in God because what happens is supposed to happen. I can't get angry because it's supposed to happen. This is God's will. It's meant to be. And my hope is not in you, it's in God that things should go my way, that things should go well. And if they don't go well, it's also God's will. So then, do I not ask you for any favors? Do I not interact with anybody? Do I just sit back and wait for things to happen? No, because God sends messengers. God works through people. What comes to me because it was supposed to come to me. Either you'll be the one to deliver it or somebody else, but God works through messengers. So when you insult me, that's a message from God. The message might be that I need to help you because you're not being nice. Or it might be what you're saying is something I need to hear because it's true or because I need to think about myself. There's a message, there's a message there. If you harm me, this is an experience that I need to go through for whatever cosmic reason, and you're the messenger. I can't be angry at you because you're the messenger. I can't be angry at God because he's doing what needs to happen. And I can't place my hope in you either because even if you help me, you're the messenger of God. So again, what he has added here is this concept of a messenger, that God works through the people around us. So does that mean everything that's happening is just for me? If you are mean to me or nice to me, you're the messenger of God so you're just there for me. What about you? What does this mean for you? in your life if you're the one that's delivering a negative message to me? Is your life also meaningful or is it just mine?
It's going to have a reaction.
Hmm.
So you've got to deal with that reaction. So that's the message to you.
So if you have harmed me, can you not say, look, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just the divine messenger bringing what God wants. If God did not want you to be hurt, you wouldn't have been hurt. So obviously you're supposed to be, and I'm just the conduit. I'm just delivering. Can we say that?
No, because there's free will as well.
Right. Person has free will.
Just learn through it. Either learn through it or
So we've got a big bit of a conundrum now, because if you have free will, that means you chose to do that. You're not a passive messenger that just like, well, it wasn't me. You chose to do that. And if you chose to do that, so then I've got an issue with you. You chose to hurt me. I'm angry at you. And he says, no, no, you can't be angry. That's just the messenger. A messenger. So don't be a messenger. Don't. Why are you being the messenger? You've done the wrong thing. So how does it work? If there's right and wrong, if there's good and evil, if we do have free choice, and if we're responsible for our actions, so then if I hurt you, I'm responsible for that. And yet, you're not supposed to be angry at me because I'm just a messenger of God. If I'm a messenger of God, so did I have free choice? Well, I must have. If I don't have free choice, then we're puppets and life is meaningless. But if I do have free choice, then I did the wrong thing. So how does this all work? How do we put this all together? Again, we've got a light at the end of a tunnel here, but where's the tunnel? How do we get to this state where I believe with perfect faith that I and you have free choice? Which means that if I choose to use my energy for good, I make a good choice. That was my choice, and I am responsible for that. If I use it for evil and bad, I'm responsible for that. I believe that with perfect faith. I also believe with perfect faith that God is in control of the universe, that everything that happens happens for a reason and it is purposeful. There's nothing that is accidental, nothing that's random, nothing that wasn't meant to be. There's no should have, could have, and would have been. There's only what is, and that's what's supposed to be.
So do you think the messenger has free will to be horrible?
He must. Because if you don't have free will to be horrible, then you don't have free will. No. Well, if God's making him do it, he doesn't have free will. If he doesn't have free will, then he's not responsible. Okay, if that's the case, then I understand why I can't be angry at him because he has no free will. It's God doing it, not him. But if he has no free will, then there is no right and wrong. There's no good and evil. There's no responsibility if we're just puppets of God. But if he does have free will, which he must, and he is responsible for his actions, so then how can I say, I have no issue with you? It's meant to be. You're just a messenger of God. What do you mean? They chose to do that.
But then he's not a proper messenger.
And if he chose, then he's not a messenger. It's like his doing, not God's doing. So we've got a conundrum here. Like how do we navigate this? It's got to fit. It's got to make sense. I mean, you could dismiss it. "Okay, look, it's a mystery. We don't understand everything. We don't understand God's ways. Like okay, that's fine. But here we need a mechanism to be able to respond to this situation. We need to have a mindset that will direct our emotions. If we're supposed to not get angry, then we need some approach to this, a strategy. I'm in this situation. Somebody's hurt me. I believe it's meant to be. I also believe that people have free choice. If I don't believe people have free choice, I also don't have free choice. And if I'm not responsible for my reaction to this, and I can get angry and do what I want because it's not my thing. I don't have free choice. I'm just the messenger of God to smack you in the face. Can I get away with that? No, I can't. I have to believe that I have free choice and you have free choice. So you had free choice to insult me. I have free choice to not smack you in the face. I'm responsible, right? But then if you had free choice, how can I not be angry at you? And we're back to square one. So how do we get this together? This is where Tanya will help us. Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi, number 4. In the section of Tanya called the Igeres HaKodesh, it's holy letters. It's letters that he wrote to his community. Letters, but of course his letters were not like postcards talking about his the activities. It was his letters were letters of encouragement, of inspiration, and very, very deep spiritual ideas. And so in the letter number 25 in the collection of his letters, Rabbi Shneur Zalman, who's the founder of the Chabad movement, which Chabad means using the mind to direct the heart, using the mind to perceive that which is beyond, higher than the mind, and using the mind to direct the heart to have a full and correct emotion. That's what Chabad really means, the word Chabad. And he was the founder of this movement and this philosophy. His book of Tanya is the most fundamental work of that. And this 4th section is a very deep part of Tanya, where he speaks about this very topic. It says the following: Our sages of blessed memory taught, whoever becomes angry, it is as if he worships idols. This is a quote from from the Zohar, the fundamental work of Kabbalah. Whoever is angry is as if he worshipped idols. How so? So he says the reason is clear to those who understand. At the moment of anger, faith departs from him. For if he truly believed that what had happened was from the hand of the Lord, he would not become angry at all. Faith in God means that God is the only being who is in control of the universe. It's his world. And therefore, whatever happens is his plan. If you believe that something wasn't supposed to happen, that is idolatry. You're saying that there's God and something else. There's God's plan, and then there's some other plan. There's the force of God, and then there's some other force that's interrupting, that's ruining that plan. But that's idolatry. Idolatry is the belief in any force outside of God. So what does it mean to be angry? What am I angry about? It means that should not have happened. It's not right. This should not be. You know, when something happens, but you know why it happened, you may not like it, but you don't have the feeling of anger at it. You know, even a little kid, when they've misbehaved and they got caught and they're given a punishment, they don't like it, but they don't have that indignation of why that's not fair. They know it's fair. They know it's supposed to be. When do they get angry? When they're blamed for something they didn't do, and they're punished for something that they're not guilty of, then they get furious. Or when they don't understand that they're guilty, they don't understand that what they did is wrong, so then they get angry. But when you understand that this is meant to happen, it fits, so then there's no place for anger. You may not enjoy it, but you can't be angry. So here as well, if something happens to us, if we think that this is not meant to happen, that's when we're angry. This is not meant to be. How could something happen that's not meant to be? If you come along and do something to me that you decided to do, and your decision was wrong, you should not have done that. It shouldn't have been. I don't think it should be, so I'm angry. But if God does something, well, God is the all-knowing one who knows what's good and what's right and what's fair. And so therefore, if it happens, it's meant to be. I can only get angry if I believe it shouldn't have happened. And if I believe it shouldn't have happened, I'm believing that some force other than God did it. That's idolatry. You've made another God now. There's another force.
So are you equating this like to the Holocaust, or wouldn't you not be angry? Wouldn't you say,
Let's talk about that later. Let's leave it aside because once we bring the Holocaust in, it takes the whole discussion. Let's talk just about things that happened to me, right? For now, we'll come back to that question. But here we should try and take it personally. Even if you were there, let's say it'd be different. If you're in the Holocaust, it will be different. Let's talk about our own experience for now, and then we'll go back to the bigger theological topics. So getting angry about it means there's something else. There's another force. Getting angry at God might be different. In the Holocaust, many people got angry at God. That's different. That's not saying there's another force. That's not idolatry. That's a deep expression of faith. That's a different story. We'll come back to that. So why is it idolatry? Because you're at that moment losing your faith. Faith means God is right here. In what I'm experiencing, God is right here. This is an experience of God because this is life. This is reality. Reality is God. If I think there's some other force that did it, that's idolatry. Now the Alter Rebbe Rosh Zalman deals with our conundrum in the bottom paragraph. And though it was a person acting with free choice who cursed him, struck him, or caused damage to his property, whatever hurt it was, whether the person was with words, they cursed you, they hit you, they hurt your property, but somebody's done wrong to you, it was a person, and that person has free choice. So that's not idolatry to say that somebody has hurt me and I'm angry at that person because they had free choice. They chose to do it. I'm not saying there's another God, but I'm saying God gave this person free choice. So I should be angry at them, should I not? Says Rabbi Shneur Zalman, such a person is indeed guilty, according to both human and heavenly law. Right? Down here in this world, we need to enact a punishment on someone who does wrong. And in heaven, they will enact punishment to somebody who does wrong. They're guilty. They need to fix what they've done. They're responsible for it. For having chosen evil. They chose evil. So for that choice, they're responsible. Nevertheless, with regard to the one who was harmed, this was already decreed from heaven. As far as I'm concerned, the recipient of the harm, that was meant to be.
So if it wasn't that person, it would have been another situation.
Correct. It's not about the person who did it to you, it's about the experience that you're having. And for whatever reason, that's the experience you need to have.
So you say someone should never be angry.
That's what he seems to say. Try that. That's a light at the end of a tunnel. But where's the tunnel? Well, so he's giving us a bit of an inkling, and we'll see more, that this is something we can work on. That I need to be able to divide between my experience that I'm going through and the players involved in that experience. Each one of us has our own relationship with God, which means our relationship with reality. God is reality, is the truth of reality. So we each have our own life, our own soul, and our own relationship with God, with reality. So what I'm going through right now is pain. Pain was caused by somebody else's bad choice. They didn't have to do this. They made a bad choice to hurt me, to insult me, to hurt me bodily, emotionally, my property, whatever it was that they've hurt, they've hurt me with their bad choice. They've done wrong. They are guilty. And they are deserving of punishment. Justice will be done, either in this world or in the next world. It will be done. Any evil that is done will be dealt with. If a person doesn't make amends, doesn't fix in this world, then they'll be punished in the next world. There's no evil that you get away with. You can fix things, but if you don't, then and some things you can't fix, and they have to be cleansed. But that is between them and God. I am not God. I'm not the judge. That's between them and God. It could be that I need to take them to court. And I need to testify against them. I may need to seek justice. That is a part of God's world. That's a part of a moral world, is that wrongdoing is punished. That if somebody's done wrong in this world, then the judges of this world need to deal with it. I may need to be involved in that process, but I don't need to get angry, because the anger is only eating me up. It's not doing anything to them. The anger is something that long after they've gone will be still impacting me negatively. And that person will not be suffering the consequences of my anger. If I want to seek justice, doing it with anger is unlikely to be effective. You can be indignant. You can have a sense of the injustice. You can be determined to seek justice. But anger will only cloud my judgment, my own judgment, make me not see clearly. And anger is a certain bitterness that leads me into a negative state of mind in my own internal world, which takes away and saps away my strength, doesn't give me strength. I don't have that clarity of determination when I'm angry. I'm just gritting my teeth, and it's only hurting myself. Whereas when I contemplate the fact that I went through something because I needed to go through it. Maybe I needed to go through it in order to seek justice, that person should be punished, so the next person won't go through it. Maybe that's why I need to go through it. And I need to respond. This is not saying that I need to be passive and accept it happened, that's life, and move on. No, I might need to respond and react to that, but not out of a sense of anger that is debilitating and makes me heavier, out of a sense of purpose. That there's a purpose in everything, in every experience. If I'm experiencing this, there's a purpose in this. There's something I need to see, and I need to respond. It may be an internal response that I need to introspect, find within myself strength, and it's all an internal work. Or maybe something external. I need to help the world. I need to help that person. I need to help the next victim. Or I need to share my insight with somebody else who is hurting. The core of it is, if I believe in God, if I have faith, it means that my experience is not meaningless. It's not empty and purposeless. It's not just suffering for the sake of suffering. It's not just because it's a sad world, and there's this bad stuff, and this is just how it is, and we just have to live with it. No. It's a good world. And there are bad things that happen, but those bad things are part of a growth process. They're purposeful. If I just get angry, I'm saying there's no purpose to this. The anger is like a dead end. Whereas if I have faith, so then I know, yes, that person's guilty, but I'm not angry at them. Their guilt is their problem. I know that this is what I need to go through this to strengthen me somehow. And if it wasn't them, somebody else would have done it, because the omnipresent has many agents. It's a quote from the Talmud that God has many agents that he can work through, many messengers. So when we said that this person is a messenger in the previous quote from the duties of the heart, they're just a messenger of God. And we said, well, does that absolve them of any guilt, of any responsibility? I'm just a messenger of God. You didn't have to be the messenger. God could have sent many messengers. Who's the messenger? A person who makes a bad choice. There's a saying in the Talmud, bad things happen through bad people, and good things happen through good people. When you give somebody a blessing, you were chosen to give that blessing, and that's a merit to you. That's a credit to you. If you're the messenger of evil, if you're the one who hurts another person, that was your bad choice. Yes, God needed it to happen for some way, some means. You didn't have to be the one. If you're the messenger, it reflects on you. So, so this is a system that we can try and place in our mind by dealing with the pain that we're going through and dividing it in between your relationship with God and my relationship with God, your life and my life. You made a bad choice, that's your problem. That bad choice impacted me negatively, that's my thing. Now remember, I'm not guilty necessarily. The guilty one is the one who's done wrong. The fact that I've received pain doesn't mean I'm guilty. Maybe I am. Maybe it's a cleansing for a sin I've done. It might be, but not necessarily. The only one that we know is guilty is the person who chose the wrong thing, who chose to do evil. That is certainly guilty, but that's their problem. Maybe I can help them, maybe not. But to get angry about it is going down the wrong rabbit hole. Now, Tanya gives us a bit more assistance with this idea over the page. We've got one more source tonight. This is also from Megillah Kodesh, the same section of Tanya, the fourth section. It's letter number 11, where the Alter Rebbe gives us a little bit of a contemplation to try and help us get through this idea, because it's not easy. Remember what the Baal Shem Tov said. This is a very high level. To be able to get to that level where you're not angry at the person who hurt you is a very high level. This is not something that we can reach overnight. It's not going to be something that we can just read a few self-help ideas and be inspired by it. This is going to be a project that we're going to have to rewire ourselves and our responses slowly, one by one, each time it happens, again, to reinforce, okay? Meant to be, meant to be. And so here, the Alter Rebbe, Rabbi Shneur Zalman, offers some thoughts on this. He says the following: a person's faith must rest solely in the Creator of the beginning, who brings forth existence from nothing at every moment. This creation ex nihilo, yesh ma'ayin, something from nothing, which is called Reshit Chachma, the beginning of wisdom, his wisdom that no creature can apprehend, occurs constantly. Every being is continually brought into existence from his wisdom, blessed be he, which animates all. This is an idea that Rabbi Shneur Zalman builds upon a lot in his works, that creation is yesh ma'ayin, something from nothing. Meaning, the world was not, and then it was. Creation was where God created the world from nothing. And then there was something. Unlike any other creation, when you create something, you bake a cake or paint a painting or write a book, you take pre-existing ingredients, you rearrange them, and you bring a bit of your flair and creativity, and you created something new. Out of all these ingredients came a beautiful cake or a lovely salad or a wonderful painting or a great essay. You've taken ideas, concepts, or ingredients, or paints, and moved them around, put in some of your ingenuity, and now something new came. But that is not something from nothing. That's something from something. You had something and you made something new. You sculpted a beautiful figure out of a piece of wood. There was wood there. Now you've shaped it into something new. You've taken something and you've made it into something. All human creativity is something from something. When we create something, we're not creating it, we're forming it from one form to another. We're changing its form. The creation of the universe, when God created the universe, it was something from nothing. There was nothing and then there was something. No building blocks, no ingredients. Before the universe existed, nothing was there, and then there was something. Something from nothing. Now that is impressive in itself. We can't do that. We can't make a meal with no ingredients. Well, I've seen my wife do that pretty close, but not exactly. That there has to be something to make something. We can't make something out of nothing. It's impressive that God created the world out of nothing, but nothing's for God, nothing's impressive. He can do anything. The meaning of this is the difference between making something out of something or something out of nothing is that when you make something out of something, the something doesn't need you anymore. But when you make something out of nothing, the something always needs you. When you paint a painting or bake a cake, you can walk away and it's still there. It doesn't need you. You can leave the room, you can leave the country, you go to another realm and it's still there. We have paintings today from hundreds of years ago. The painter is long gone, but the painting's still there. Of course, once the painter has done it, he's made it, his contribution is done, it's there, and he can go. He doesn't need to think about that painting. He could forget about it, that it existed, and it'll still exist. Why? Because, well, his part was the rearrangement of the ingredients. He's done that, but the ingredients existed before he came along, and they'll exist after he's gone, because he just moved things around. He's not the cause of the existence of the very ingredients and the parts of this creation. He didn't cause them to be, he just moved them around. So once he's gone, it still continues. But when you create something from nothing, as God did, that something cannot continue to exist on its own. It needs to be constantly re-existed, re-pumped into existence, recreated at every moment. If it's left, it's gone. If God would leave the universe for a moment, if he would forget about it for a moment, it would cease to exist like it never was there. Why? Because its ingredients, the building blocks of the universe, don't have an independent existence. They weren't there before God came along and created the world. He created the building blocks. He created the whole thing. If he stops, it's gone. The only parallel to this in our experience, in our realm, would perhaps be an imaginary scene that you conjure in your mind. If you, as you sit here, conjure in your mind a totally imaginary scene of a nice sunny day where you're walking along the beach with your best friend and having a lovely chat and the waves are lapping, and you can create whatever the scene, it doesn't matter what it is. As long as you're imagining that scene, it's there. Where? In your imagination. And you can see the blue sky, and you can hear the birds chirping, and the water lapping, and your friend talking. You can see it all in your mind's eye. It's all there with all the details, as many details as you want. And you can add to it, and you can enter into that dream world for as long as you want. But if I suddenly snap you out of it and tell you to look at something else, and you stop the imagination, it's gone. The beach, the sand, the water, the birds disappeared. It's not like they've fallen on the floor or they're sitting there. They're gone. They're completely gone. That entire beach, every single grain of sand on that beach is gone. Your friend has disappeared. The trees, it's complete. Where'd it go? Well, back to where it came from. Nothing. You made it up in your mind. There was no beach other than your imagination. As long as you're imagining it, it's there. If you stop, it's gone. You have total control over that beach scene. If you want the wave to stop, it can stop. If you want the wave to disappear, it'll disappear. If you want the friend to change to a different friend, that'll happen too. You have total control over whatever happens in that scene because it's yours. It doesn't have any existence other than you. You created it out of nothing. That's how God created the universe, out of nothing. The difference is your imagination is just imagination. It's not a something. God created the universe. It's a something out of nothing. God's imagination is a reality. When God created the universe, he created it out of nothing, and it only continues to exist as long as he is creating it. If God were, as it were, to divert his attention from the universe and think about something else, we'd be gone because we have no existence to fall back on. We have no building blocks, no ingredients that we came from, just what God imagined into being. Rabbi Shneur Zalman says that when you think deeply into this, it changes your perspective of reality. It's not just that God created the universe once upon a time. He has a plan for it, and every now and then he intervenes to steer the course of the universe. Does a miracle here or there, or does something unusual here or there, just to make sure things are okay. No, no, no. Every single micro detail of every single event of every single person's life is a part of the divine exact imagination that God is making happen now. Not that he created the universe once upon a time. He's creating it now. No tiny little detail in the universe can be or can happen without him deliberately giving it existence. Nothing is overlooked. Nothing is forgotten. Nothing is like it was planned to be, but it didn't happen, or it was supposed to go that way, but it happened a different way. Every single detail is being recreated right now, just like you and your imagination. There's nothing that is there that, oh, how did that get there? You imagined it. You put it there. And God is even in more control than we are of our imagination. If you deeply contemplate that thought and make that real to you, as if you're seeing this happen in front of your eyes, because you are. The reality that is unraveling in front of you is the divine creation of now. This is the universe that God is creating now, in all of its details. The bits that we love and the bits that we struggle with. The things that seem to be going our way and the things that seem to be blocking us and pushing against us. The pleasant experiences where we feel God's closeness and the unpleasant experiences where we feel as if, where's God? He's there, in that, in every single bit. So what does this do? How does this help us? Let's look at the second paragraph. When a person reflects deeply upon this and contemplates in his mind that his very being is renewed from nothing at every instant, how could he possibly think he has suffered or endured afflictions regarding children, life, or sustenance, or any other worldly trials? He quotes these things, the three things that we complain about the most. Our kids and family issues, life meaning health, and sustenance, not money, making ends meet. These are the main things we can find other things to complain about, but this is the top three. So you're having issues with family issues, health issues, money issues. It's painful. It's difficult. It's real. But if you contemplate that God is making that issue for me now, this is the button God is pressing for me right now. It's not just happening. It's not supposed to happen. It's not an interruption to my life. It's not some unexpected detour that I don't know where this came from. This is the divine plan for me right now. God is making it right now. When you actually contemplate that, so he says, how can you suffer? It might be painful, but you're not going to suffer. There's a difference between experiencing pain, it hurts, or suffering. How could it be? What for the ayin, the nothingness, his wisdom, blessed be he, is in truth the source of life, welfare, and delight. God is the source of the blessings that we need and the blessings that we seek. It is the Eden that transcends even the world to come. Yet because it cannot be grasped, one imagines oneself to suffer. In truth, however, no evil descends from above. All is good, though its abundant goodness is not apprehended. These are very deep words. He says there's two types of good. Only good comes from God. Only good, no evil, no bad. But the good comes down in two forms. There's good that we experience as good, and there's good that we experience as bad. There is an experience that we can handle, that we can absorb, that we can relate to, and we feel the good. And then sometimes God sends us a good that we can't relate to. It's a good that is above us and beyond us.
But do you believe that the bad we experience is good?
That's what he's saying. But we're experiencing it as bad because we do not have the antennae, the capacities, the breadth to experience what's going on at that moment as for what it is, which is good. So we experience the bad of it. But we can't call it bad because in ultimate its source, it's actually good. We're just not experiencing it that way. And so a duality is created, a contradiction is created between our experience of the reality and its true reality. The truth of it is this is a divine light that is shining on us. The experience of it is darkness, is lack, is void, is emptiness, is pain, because I'm not feeling it. And so we have to live in this duality where if you have faith, you know that God is creating this moment and God is only good. I'm feeling pain. Yeah, that's me with my limited capabilities. I'm feeling the lack and the void. But to be upset, to be angry, to be indignant, to say it's not fair, to say, why is this happening? There's a higher story going on that I'm not experiencing it for what it is, but I can't say that God is pushing me away. He's punishing me. Maybe the opposite. Maybe he's giving you a light that is just so beyond you're not experiencing it for what it is at the moment. And one day you will. In some inexplicable way, in some way that we have no way to fathom or explain, there'll be a time when that experience, the darkest experience of your life, you will see how it was the greatest light.
Or you may not.
Maybe not in this lifetime,
Yeah.
but eventually
Yes.
there's a light at the end of the tunnel. The tunnel does end, and we get to the light. Maybe not in this lifetime. But even now, if I know that that's the case, I have the incredible human capacity to lift myself above the pain that I'm in, not deny the pain, not tranquilize it, not necessarily stop it even. I'm feeling pain, but I have the possibility to go to a place in my soul that knows that there's a bigger story going on. There's a higher level where this is not bad. Now he says in the next third paragraph, this is the essence of faith. If you think about, if you want to know what faith is, this is it.
The last part.
Faith is where when you're going through darkness and you're experiencing it as pain and you have no explanation whatsoever, but you know that God is good and this is somehow good. And there's a part of me that is not in this darkness, a part of me. I don't feel it. I don't have words for it, but I have it. This is faith for which man was created. This is actually the purpose of creation. When a human being goes through this, God marvels at us. Look at the being that I created, who can go through that and still believe, still hold on. To believe that there is no place devoid of him, of God. No place devoid of God. and that in the light of the king's countenance there is life. Meaning, if there's no place devoid of God, is rule number one. And rule number two is where God is, there's life, there's joy, there's energy. And if God is everywhere, that includes the place I'm in right now. And in his presence are strength and joy always, for he's only good eternally. If you're in the presence of God, it's good. I'm not feeling that. Fair enough. Fair enough. You're a human being. But you believe, you have faith that there's good in this place. And that part of you can actually connect to a sense of joy in your pain. Elsewhere in Tanya, he quotes what the Zohar says, that the heart can have two sides. We can feel pain on one side and joy on the other at the same time. Because joy doesn't necessarily mean la-di-da, jumping up and down. Joy means being alive. Sadness means a dead heart. Joy means my heart is alive. I'm feeling. I'm responding. To be able to cry, you have to have joy. You can't cry if you're actually truly depressed. To be able to respond with feeling, to respond to my pain even, that takes joy because that's being alive. So he says, therefore, above all, a person should rejoice at all times, truly living by his faith in the Lord, who gives him life and shows him kindness at every moment. We can live that even as we're going through darkness, live with a sense of joy. But one who is saddened and laments, as if lacking goodness, thereby implies that he suffers evil. Such a stance is akin to heresy, heaven forbid. That's denying God. That's idolatry that we said before. Is God not in this place where you are? He is. He's in it. So you're alive, you're connected. So you can feel the pain, you can cry, but if you lament, if you become frustrated and angry and despondent and give up, that's a denial of God. You can do better than that. Faith is, I don't see it, I don't get it, I don't understand it, I'm feeling the pain, but I know God is in this moment with me. And that gives me a joy in the midst of my pain. It doesn't tranquilize me. I'm not ignoring the pain, but there's a piece of me that's above it. For this reason, the Kabbalists strongly rejected the trait of sadness. All the Kabbalists write the same thing, that being in a state of sadness is blocking yourself from God. It's a blockage of the heart. It's blocking yourself from everybody. When you're sad, you don't feel anything. It's not a feeling, it's a lack of feeling, sadness. It's numbness. It disconnects you. And so the Kabbalists said, we think sadness is just, oh, things are bad, so I'm sad. Well, what can I do? No, there's a choice. There's a choice of how we respond. Do we let that drag us down, or do we open up that sense of life in our soul? We always have that choice. Sometimes it's excruciatingly hard. Sometimes we have to cry. We have to mourn. We have to grieve. There's many sad feelings that we have to go through. But if we're feeling, that's being alive. When we become numb with sadness, that's when a part of us is dead. The true believer, he continues, however, is not disturbed by any afflictions whatsoever. To him, all matters of this world, yes or no, are equal, with perfect equanimity. Here we have an echo of the Baal Shem Tov's teaching and the Kabbalist that we studied earlier of this hishtavut. Yes and no is the same. To the true believer, God is in this place. It's a yes or a no, it's still God. Things are great, things are terrible, it's still God. And therefore, it doesn't shake me. It doesn't knock me off. I keep that equilibrium because there's the same divine presence at all moments. So let's just skip. Um, there's a lot here, but let's go to the second last paragraph. One must believe that his life in all its details, all his needs, and all that pertains to him derive solely from the Lord who establishes man's steps, and that there is not a word on his tongue, but the Lord knows it. Ultimately, everything is entirely good, though not yet perceived as such. So he's teaching us to there's a view of the world that we see with our external eyes, and there's a way we experience reality on our superficial level, where there's things that are great, things that are painful, things we love, things we hate, things that help us, things that harm us. There's this duality. But there's a deeper level where it's all the one God. And therefore it's all good. But there's good that we cannot perceive. Doesn't mean it's less good. Maybe it's a higher good. We can't perceive it because of its lofty level. It's too much for us. Doesn't mean it's not good. Sometimes in small ways we see this, and we all can identify times in our lives that were bad, painful, and terrible, but are brought to incredible new opportunities and great blessings and things we never would have experienced otherwise. We can find that in miniature in our lives. We've all experienced it and seen it. And then we've also experienced other things that we don't see any end of the story. We don't see that light at the end of the tunnel. But we have to know that it's there. We have to know that that's true. Even if we don't see it, we haven't got to the end of the story yet. And the story is much bigger than our lifetime. And then he adds just at the end, like he throws in another bombshell. Through genuine faith in this, all becomes good even in appearance. If you really get this, genuinely and fully, it actually becomes good. For when one believes that what seems to be evil is in truth an emanation of the supreme good, his wisdom, blessed be he, the Eden beyond the world to come, then through this faith, the imagined evil is transformed and elevated into the concealed transcendent good. Meaning that there are some people who attain the level where they are so aligned with this idea, it becomes so real to them that it's translated into the here and now. And what was apparent evil and bad and pain switches around to good. For most of us, we just have to believe it. We have to have the faith and believe it, and we don't see it. We go through painful, difficult, dark times, and we have to hold on saying, we believe that God is good, and this is good, and I don't see it. I feel the pain, and that's what I'm going through now, and this is my journey at this moment. And I do have to feel that pain and cry with it and grieve it and go whatever. But I know that ultimately this is not God pushing me away. He's bringing me close. He hasn't rejected me. He's holding my hand through this. This is not a punishment to push me away. This is an invitation for me to go deeper. And I don't see why, I don't understand how, but I believe it. That's for most of us, that's how we have to live. But there are some people who reach such a level of this where it's not just their belief that they are convincing themselves is true, but they actually feel it. They can actually feel the joy, and it changes, it turns around. Whatever would otherwise be understood as a negative experience turns around, and the light comes through for them. And I think he tells us that not necessarily because that's where we will get to, but for us to know that that exists too. To know that it exists, the possibility of turning around a dark time to good just by believing this and making it so real. So there's not just a light at the end of a tunnel. There is a dark tunnel that we have to go through. But it's while we're in the dark tunnel to realize that the light is not just at the end of the tunnel. The light is here. The darkness that we're in is actually a light that is beyond our perception. And then somehow in the depth of our soul, we can live, we can be alive, we can be responsive, energetic, positive, not denying the pain, but not being dragged down by it either.
But being responsive negatively, it's still responsive.
Yes, yes. But if that negative response is a despondency, is a sadness, then it leads to inaction, not to action. That's the real test.
They can feel sad, but you don't have to be pulled down. You must
Correct.
feel sad.
Correct.
You can't pretend you're not sad.
But then you've got
So long, but you get over it.
Correct. Does the question is, does that sadness spur you to action, or does it drag you into inertia and inaction? The sadness that the Kabbalists rejected is the one that causes us to shrivel inward and to give up and to become numb and lose our sense of feeling and connection. That's the negative one that we have to avoid at all costs. There's a pain that we need to feel to be alive. And we need but that's a pain that makes us want to do. We want to bring more love into the world because we feel pain, more goodness into the world because we see what darkness is. A pain that spurs us to action is a positive. That's not a negative. Negative is when we shrivel inwards, we withdraw. So we haven't been given an easy path here. This is not a simple thing to achieve, but it's something to aspire to. It's something to when we're going through, the best is actually when we're not going through a dark time. When things are relatively calm, to imbibe this wisdom and say, God is with me at every moment, recreating the universe at this moment. This is the reality that God is exactly pieced together for me at this moment. If somebody else is causing me harm, they've got a problem, but that's their universe, that's their relationship, that's their reality with God that they have to deal with. As far as I'm concerned, that was created for me to deal with in whatever form or way. That's my story. They have their story and I have my story. They have made a bad choice, that's their problem. But if they would have made the choice, somebody else would have made the choice. I needed to experience this at this moment. Doesn't mean it's a punishment because I've done something wrong. On the contrary, maybe this is a higher light that I'm experiencing that I can't experience as light, I experience it as darkness. I may in this lifetime or the next lifetime understand, but understanding is one thing, knowing is another. And I know that I'm in God's light. Okay. Any other questions, comments?
And to ask, are there any more Kabbalists today, like who's one teaching us?
Sure. There are Kabbalists and teachers in every generation. It's getting bigger and bigger, more and more popular. New books being written. But I mean, there's two types of Kabbalists. There's a student of Kabbalah, which we all are. That's where we're studying Kabbalah. And then there's a person who receives Kabbalistic knowledge from higher sources and reveals new levels. There aren't too many of those. There are, but that's a different category. Okay, please God, next week we'll continue. Come to a conclusion on this topic of how these lofty levels can be integrated into not such lofty people, average people, how we can actually live this. We'll continue, please God, next week.